They never wanted you to hear this. The wealthy, the untouchable elite would pay more than you can imagine just to erase these words from existence. Not because they dislike the message, but because it exposes a truth so dangerous it could free you forever. You were not born to struggle. You were not created to scrape by, fearing bills, counting pennies, and shrinking your dreams to match your paycheck. You were born to command abundance. Yet the world trained you to forget. Let's speak without sugarcoating. You are not broke because of the economy. You are not poor because of your parents, your boss, or your background. You are poor because nobody taught you how to think about wealth. And those who did taught you to think like a beggar instead of a builder. This message is different. This is a deletion of limitation. This is a rewriting of your mental code. It is a return to the truth that wealth begins with a definite, clear aim, fueled by faith, enforced by persistence, and repeated until your subconscious treats it as law. I'm not here asking for blind belief. I am here to challenge you. From this moment on, examine every idea that enters your mind, not by whether it feels safe, not by whether it matches your current life, but by whether it could create the life you desire. If the answer is yes, then act, because hesitation is theft. The longer you wait, the longer you live under someone else's plan, the longer you obey fear, the more wealth avoids you. But if you listen, if you believe, and if you obey this process, everything will change. Your finances, your confidence, your identity, your future. So hear me clearly. You were not placed here to survive. You were placed here to rule. Once you know this truth, you can never return to being poor in the mind again. And now, listen closely, because the principles of wealth are about to be placed in your hands. The richest men alive would pay fortunes to make sure you never hear this. Not because these laws are untested, but because they would awaken a sleeping majority. The greatest fear of the powerful is not revolution, it is realization. If the average person ever saw how close they are to wealth, the entire system would shift overnight. You were not born to beg for leftovers. You were not designed to kneel before banks or plead for permission to rise. You were engineered to create wealth, but you were trained to wait, to obey the voice of poverty, to believe that money only belongs to the privileged, the inherited, the lucky. Here's the truth. Wealth is not a favor. Wealth is a law. Most people are poor not because of lack, but because they violate the law daily through mental disorder, emotional drift, and ignorance of the principles that govern riches. The world has sold you a costly lie. Work harder, wait longer, stay quiet, and then one day you'll be chosen. But the truth is sharper. You must choose yourself. If you don't, if you reject this voice, your life will stay tied to the poverty program. You'll keep trading your time for less than your worth. You'll watch others rise while you circle the same problems. You'll bury your best ideas. You'll postpone decisions. You'll obey the very system built to keep you small, but not today. Because today, you will not just hear another motivational speech. You will receive the exact blueprint the wealthy were given but never shared. You will understand that your bank account is not a measure of your value. It's a reflection of the laws you've obeyed or broken. Let's be clear. You are not cursed with poverty. You are conditioned for it. Every limit you accept, every ceiling you tolerate, every excuse you protect is part of a mental program designed by men who never wanted you to rise. But you can uninstall that program. You can install one of dominion, certainty, and wealth if you listen. The wealthy do not chase money. They become the kind of people money chases. Money is not hunted, it is magnetized. And you do not magnetize wealth through raw effort alone, but through the repetition of a wealthy identity, a clear aim, and unwavering obedience to the law. Your income is not the product of effort alone. It is the echo of your thoughts, the reward of your clarity, the fruit of your mental exactness. What you believe, you build. What you drift from dies. This message is a threat to every system that profits from your smallness. It threatens the voice that tells you you're too late, not ready, or not capable. That's why most will hear this and change nothing. But you, if you choose, can be the rare one who hears and obeys. This is not a pep talk. This is the manual for becoming permanently wealthy, not through luck, not through chance, but through law. Repeat after me. I was not born to earn scraps. I was born to command abundance. I do not chase wealth. I attract it by becoming definite in purpose. What I believe, I build. What I build, I own. You were never meant to merely survive. You were meant to decide. You were never meant to stay small. You were meant to walk in dominion. And every day you hesitate is money left unclaimed, a dream denied, a life unlived. Riches do not begin with labor, they begin with law. And the first law is this: wealth must exist in your mind before it can exist in your hand. You cannot hold gold until you first hold certainty. You cannot receive success until you first possess it inwardly, through belief, through command, through decision. A man may have calloused hands from endless labor, but if his mind is soft with vagueness, he will never prosper. You must first be wealthy in identity before you can ever be wealthy in reality. Money doesn't respond to need, it responds to order. It responds to decision, and it responds to the intensity of your inner state. The man who demands wealth without transforming his mind demands from an empty law. Your subconscious is your silent executor. It does not argue, it does not laugh, it does not question. It simply obeys the orders it receives most often. If you say, I am broke long enough, that becomes your law. If you say, I am becoming wealthy with faith and repetition, that becomes your law. This is not wishful thinking. This is the common thread of every self-made success. I have seen men with no education, no contacts, no inheritance, rise to fortunes beyond imagination. Not because of luck, but because they possess something more powerful than money. A definite aim backed by burning desire. That combination turns a human into a magnet for wealth. You may believe that money comes to those who work the hardest. This is false. It comes to those who think the clearest and act on an organized plan. I've met men who never swung a hammer but built empires. Why? Because they held a mental image so vivid that even infinite intelligence bowed to it. Your first instruction is this: write your definite aim today, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, it must be exact. It must declare the amount of wealth you will have, the date by which you will have it, and what you will give in exchange. Then, speak it aloud morning and night without fail. This is the beginning of mental wealth, and here's what happens next. Your subconscious will begin to obey. Ideas will appear. You'll recognize the right people. Opportunities will start presenting themselves, and you'll think it's luck. But luck is nothing more than law that's been given an instruction. Without definiteness, it remains dormant. The story of Edwin C. Barnes proves this. He had no money, no credentials, but he had something the wealthy prize above all else: decision with desire. He said, I will become Thomas Edison's business partner. Not an employee, a partner. It wasn't a wish, it was a declaration. He held that thought with such clarity and persistence that his entire being became magnetized toward it. And it happened. You must become that type of person, not one who hopes, but one who decides and obeys that decision with faith. Your definite chief aim is not a poem. It is a command to the universe. It is your law. And wealth flows where command begins. Poor minds speak of prices. Rich minds speak of value. The poor ask, can I afford it? The rich ask, what value can I create to make it inevitable? This is not arrogance. It's the mindset required to build wealth. Every day you live without a definite aim is a day you drift. And drift always leads to poverty. Not because life is unfair, but because law cannot reward the vague. The man who sort of wants more will sort of get it, but the man who declares, I will build an income of $100,000 by this date, through this method, by offering this service, that man begins to create. So I ask you, what is your aim? Have you written it? Or are you carrying vague wishes in your head like a beggar with uncashed checks? Write it, speak it, obey it. Don't ask for applause, don't wait for support. The rich walk alone before the empire is built. Faith is the fire. Decision is the spark. Repetition is the fuel. You may say, but I failed before. Good. Every success is born in the shadow of failure. Every dollar I have ever made was first purchased with obedience to a thought no one else could see. You must believe before the evidence appears. That is the price, and you must pay it daily. Now say this with conviction. I am the type of person wealth seeks. My aim is definite, and the riches I desire are already seeking me. The money I want is attracted by the order I create in thought. Say it when you feel unstoppable. Say it when you feel like quitting. Say it until your mind can no longer accept poverty as an option, because money will never come before you erase your tolerance for poverty. Understand, riches will not obey a person who negotiates with doubt, but they will submit to the one who commands with spiritual precision. Your mind is not built for worrying, it is built for instructing. The first instruction is your aim. Until you write it, speak it, and obey it, wealth will remain a rumor. The poor wait, the rich move. That is the difference. The man poor in wallet is first poor in decision. Many think they're waiting for clarity, but wealth doesn't respond to clarity. It responds to certainty. The moment you become decisive, life follows your command. Hesitation repels wealth. Decisiveness attracts it. Every time you pause to seek permission, you send a signal you're not ready. And wealth is precise. It listens only to the voice that speaks without stutter. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. The person who waits until they're ready will never begin, and the one who never begins never learns, and the one who never learns never builds. You are not broke because of failure. You are broke because of indecision. Until you cut indecision from your life, wealth will stay out of reach. Consider Henry Ford. His engineers said the V8 engine couldn't be done. He didn't debate. He ordered, build it. When they told him again it was impossible, he said the same thing, build it anyway. That is decision. That is why he built an empire while others built excuses. Every opportunity rewards speed. Wealth doesn't wait for you to find courage. It rewards those who move before the applause. Hear me. The world is not lacking in riches. It's lacking in people decisive enough to claim them. The person who builds wealth is rarely the smartest, the fastest, or the most connected, but they are the most certain. Certainty commands power. How many fortunes have you forfeited because you delayed? How many ideas have died in notebooks because you never moved? How many signs did you wait for instead of becoming the sign? You must become the type of person who moves daily with clarity and decisiveness. If you want money, you must build a system that honors movement. Decision is not a moment. It's a habit. Here's the formula. Decision plus organized plan plus daily movement equals magnetic wealth. I say magnetic because wealth isn't earned drip by drip. It's drawn in by order. Every dollar is looking for the person who knows exactly where they're going. If you start today with nothing but a written aim and back it with decisive action, you are already wealthier than the person who inherited millions but drifts without direction. Because money gained without discipline returns to the wind. So ask yourself right now, not later, not someday, what will I build? Who will I become? When will I begin? If your answer isn't now, then understand you are still undecided. And the undecided stay unpaid. There are people with less talent, less education, and less opportunity than you who are now living in freedom. Why? Because while you hesitated, they decided. The poor wait to feel ready. The rich act from decision. And decision is not a feeling. It's an order you give yourself. Stop asking your emotions for permission. Feelings follow facts. And the first fact you must install is this: I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. Move forward before confidence arrives. Decide before certainty appears. The person who finishes first is simply the one who never stopped. Repeat this. I am decisive. I move without fear. Wealth obeys my certainty. I do not wait to feel ready. I act from decision. These are not pretty phrases. They're mental commands. Set your schedule based on decisions, not doubts. Pick one aim. Move toward it daily. Do not wait to be seen. Decision sees itself through. The moment you act with finality, money begins to obey, not because it's magic, but because it's law. The law of compensation pays those who choose and obey their aim with discipline. The world is not withholding money from you. It is holding it until you become the kind of person who commands it. Decision makes you that person. Hard work is the idol of those who misunderstand the law. They swing the axe from dawn to dusk, while another who thinks with precision and organizes with intelligence earns in minutes what the laborer earns in months. This isn't injustice. It's the gap between sweat and structure, between mere hustle and harmony with the laws of wealth. You've been told to work harder, but I tell you, the graveyard is full of people who worked themselves to exhaustion and still died poor. Effort alone does not build wealth. Effective thought does. Specialized knowledge does. Controlled attention does. You must aim with accuracy, not just flail with activity. Andrew Carnegie didn't become one of the richest men alive by working more hours than his factory workers. He became rich because he understood leverage, delegated wisely, and trained his mind to think in systems. Wealth obeys structure, not sweat. The person who brags about always working is often the same person who's always struggling. Activity is not advancement. But the person who asks, what is the one action today that will create the biggest return? That person begins to multiply time, income, and influence. Efficiency is the seed of wealth. Specialized knowledge is one of its pillars. And yet it's ignored by those who think busyness is progress. You must master what you do best and become definite in it. Your wealth is not in hours worked, it's in the value you create. Value, not time, is what you trade. Money flows to precision, not exhaustion. The one who multiplies knowledge, directs attention with force, and moves with strategy, that person is unstoppable. Stop scattering your focus. Fix your attention on one worthy aim and pursue it with daily planning and clear thinking. That person becomes someone paid richly for every thought they hold. Charles M. Schwab started as a stake driver, but through study, innovation, and positioning, he rose to become the president of Bethlehem Steel. He didn't just work hard, he worked with organized intelligence. That is what brought him fortune. Guard your mind like a vault. Every second spent on idle thoughts or petty distractions is theft from your wealth. Your mind is your capital. Train it to think in terms of systems, not just steps, in leverage, not just labor. Repeat this truth. I do not trade time for money. I command money through value. I train my attention. I control my direction. I multiply my effectiveness. My mind is my capital, and my value is unlimited. These aren't affirmations. They are instructions to your subconscious. Repeat them until they become your normal thinking. Your current income is not your value limit. It's just a reflection of your current awareness. Expand your mental order, and your wealth must follow if you act daily. Do not confuse struggle with significance. The world doesn't reward tiredness, it rewards precision. Every great fortune was built not by work alone, but by persistent thought applied with accuracy. Train your mind, specialize your knowledge, control your attention, organize your plan, move daily, and riches will respond. Riches are not random. They do not fall into laps. They are not gifts for the lucky. They are the natural product of law. Wealth is never a miracle. It's the visible effect of invisible alignment. The first law is cosmic habit force. Anything you repeat with belief and emotion becomes automatic. You are wealthy or poor not because of one act, but because of your daily rhythm. Your thoughts have a pulse. If they're chaotic, your finances will be chaotic. If they're ordered, your finances will grow. Every thought is a seed. Every repetition is water. Every emotion is sunlight. You're not praying for wealth, you're programming it. Repetition beats emotion in the long run. This is why auto-suggestion works. Speak what you wish to become until your subconscious can no longer reject it. If you still live in scarcity, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. You've been obeying the wrong rhythm. That ends today. Choose new instructions, write your aim, repeat it daily, visualize it, move toward it. even if the steps feel small. Refuse to contradict your aim with doubt. Most fail because they treat wealth like luck. They speak affirmations once and wonder why nothing changes. They write goals and never look again. They move once and stop, and they don't live in the law, they visit it. The law rewards those who dwell in it daily. Become permanent in purpose, unshakable in belief, relentless in repetition. Say this as an instruction, not a suggestion. I live by law. I rise by rhythm. I grow by repetition. Wealth flows to the mind that moves with order. Every day I repeat truth. I multiply power. If you repeat this with fire and act in alignment, your life will shift, not by chance, but by law. Poverty is not a condition of your wallet. It's a condition of your imagination. You cannot rise above the image you hold of yourself. No child is born afraid of wealth. Fear is taught. Doubt is installed. Poverty is programmed by repetition. And if poverty was programmed in, it can be programmed out. Identify every phrase you've spoken that aligns with poverty and replace it with wealth-creating commands. The subconscious doesn't care if you repeat truth or lies. It obeys whatever you feed it. What you repeat, you believe. What you believe, you build. Say this now. I outgrow the fear of poverty. I am not broke. I am becoming. What I speak daily, I believe. What I believe, I become. I am not small. I think in riches, and riches form in return. Feed these instructions daily because your life depends on it. You will never out-earn your identity. If you see yourself as a struggler, you'll sabotage every blessing. If you see yourself as a builder, a commander of wealth, a steward of abundance, you'll rise by law. Riches don't change you. They reveal who you've been becoming all along. Rewrite your image, declare your greatness daily. Poverty is a prison, but the door is open. Walk out. Refuse to apologize for your desire. Refuse to speak as the poor speak and say, my thoughts create structure, my belief builds supply, my words shape gold. Repeat it until your subconscious believes it more than your past. Once it does, the outer world will match the inner. The world doesn't reward those who wait to be chosen. It rewards those who choose themselves. Money flows toward belief, not to the most educated, not to the most careful, but to the most certain. Belief acts while others talk. Belief walks by faith, not by sight. It bends reality. It draws opportunities the doubter will never know. Thomas Edison didn't have proof the light bulb would work, only belief backed by action. You must believe not just that you can succeed, but that you must. Move as though what you want is already yours, and act until it is. Infinite intelligence obeys faith, respects persistence, and fulfills the vision of the one who insists upon it. Belief without action is a wish. Wishes build nothing. Write this down. I believe so fully my actions match my future. My mind magnetizes wealth through belief. I do not hope, I know, I do not doubt. I declare. Belief is the seed. Action is the water. The harvest is inevitable. You cannot walk into riches with the same identity that kept you poor. You must become the person who commands wealth before you hold it. Identity is built through daily commands, repetition, and aligned action. Every morning, before the world distracts you, declare, I am not who I was. I am the builder of wealth. I am trusted with riches, and I move with purpose. I think in systems. I live in order. Act as this person and decide as this person. Say no to what doesn't belong to them. Surround yourself with minds that push you higher. If you walk with drifters, you will drift. If you walk with builders, you will build. Say this, I do not visit wealth, I live in it. I do not pretend to be rich. I become rich by becoming the person wealth obeys. Every thought builds the person. Every person attracts the life. Once your identity is definite and your rhythm is set, wealth will no longer avoid you, because the final law is this, what you obey multiplies. The one who obeys a clear aim, who obeys faith, who obeys the law of repetition, they don't wish for wealth, they command it. And when obedience becomes identity, overflow is inevitable. You were not born for crumbs, You were born for command. The only question now is, will you obey the law daily or drift back to the program they gave you? You know the answer. Now begin. The world makes way for those who dare to rise. Click the Rise button now to subscribe and claim the destiny waiting for you. Your time is now.